kind of go through a few of the top questions I've been getting during my private consulting. I do a lot of kind of social media consulting, mostly for large agencies, big companies, for executives and whatnot. They need help with their profiles. They need suggestions and strategies. So I kind of go through it with them and get them going in the right direction. But what I want to share with you guys is kind of what these common questions are, and then obviously what the answers are. And obviously LinkedIn made some changes about 2 months ago that have caused a lot of questions to kind of come up. So the first thing I want to go through may seem very basic, but in my opinion, there's a little bit more to it. And I've been getting this question a lot lately, which is, how do I post something on LinkedIn? So we're going to use this one gentleman, Dennis Gladden, as an example. But basically, when you come into LinkedIn, you're going to log in and you're going to come to this screen. You can get to this screen as well by clicking on the home button in the upper right-hand corner. But basically, LinkedIn now gives you 3 kind of buttons to post things. And it's kind of hidden in here. It can be kind of hard to see. So hopefully I can kind of make it a little more obvious. So the first one is share an update, right? That's kind of like Facebook. If you click on it, you can post like 2 or 3 sentences. You can attach a link or a photo. Very simple. The second one is you just want to upload a photo, okay? Again, very simple. Click the upload photo, upload it from your computer, it'll post it. And the third one is a lot more complicated. It's called publishing a post. Now, I'm not exactly sure why they make it this confusing, but long story short, if you click on the publish post, it's much more comprehensive, where you can type, literally paragraphs. You can add kind of a nice photo at the top, a heading, and it gives you the ability down here, you'll see, to really customize it. You can indent and bold and put in tags and all sorts of crazy stuff. So long story short, what is the difference between a update and a published post? Well, there is a difference. When you do an update, it just goes to your feed. It goes to all the people you're connected with feed, and I'm just scrolling. When you publish a post, it's going to actually show up on all of your connections in this little flag area right here, okay? So let me just, hopefully, I'm just guessing, hopefully someone has published a post so we can see an example. Yeah, so you can see Tanya Kitchkow, she published a post, time for a cookout, grilling safety. So because she published that post, it showed up in that little flag area. And of course, it shows up on your feed. But my point is there's kind of 2 levels. So that's a common question I get. I think it's a good question. I think it's good to understand both of these things. And I think it's good to understand that when you're publishing posts and you're putting tags and stuff in there, now you're talking a little bit more about what's called search engine optimization, where people potentially can find these posts throughout LinkedIn, but also on the search engines. So when you do those things, you obviously want to do them at a high level. You don't want to just impulsively post something. That's kind of what the update's for. Something quick, something simple, so keep that in mind. So hopefully that answers that question. Next question, this is always a good one. Who should I connect with on LinkedIn? Should I connect with competitors? Well, everyone has their own strategy, but my thought is you want to connect with everyone. You want to connect with everyone because, in my opinion, the whole point of social media is growing a distribution and utilizing that distribution by being able to communicate to these people. Can't communicate to them if you're not connected with them. So I guess first thought, connect with as many people as possible. Worst case scenario, you just put them in a folder that you don't send them communications. Next question was, do I connect with competitors? And, in my opinion, yes, because they're a competitor today and tomorrow they're distribution, right? In the insurance industry, it's funny how, there's not much trust. Very rarely do insurance agents kind of bond together, form really good relationships. But on the flip side, it really is a distribution type business where you constantly have people under you and they become your distribution pool as well. So again, just to go back to the initial question, should I connect with competitors? I would absolutely connect with competitors. I would create a folder, which I'll go through in a second, label it competitors, get as many as you can. Who knows? One day they may be making money for you. You know, you just don't know. You don't know where it's going. But on the flip side, if you do ever get an opportunity to become an MGA or something like that, an FMO, and you don't have the distribution, it's going to take hours upon hours upon hours to obviously generate that distribution. So you really want to, you obviously want to connect with those people. Quick question here. When you upload a photo, where does it go? So again, just to review, we had kind of two things. When you share an update, it just goes into the feed. When you do a published post, it goes into the feed, but it also goes into everyone's little alert area. When you do a photo, it's just like an update. It just shows on the feed. Okay, it's just kind of a simple thing. So anyway. Okay, next most common question. How do I invite somebody to connect with me? Okay, so a lot of my clients, for consulting purposes, when they try to connect with people, they'll just go into LinkedIn up top here and they'll type in, like, they'll be like, oh, I want to connect with John Moore. So they type in John Moore, and long story short, there's 7,000 John Moores on LinkedIn. So I guess what I'm trying to say is in my opinion, that is not the most efficient way to connect with somebody. Really, the best way to connect with them is to get their email address, click on the Connections tab, and the second area is Add Connections. Just click on that. Now, this is a little confusing. This is why I'm recording this. Then click on the Any Email button right here. And once you click on that, you're going to see a box come down here by this arrow. And let me just kind of click on it. So if you click on any email, click on Invite Email, and then you can just type in, John Moore at, whatever, AOL.com, and boom, hit Send Invitation, and it'll send them an invite. So that's how I connect with people. I like to just get their emails and put it in there. That way I'm not fooling around trying to find their profile. Much easier that way. Next question. How do I tag somebody? Now, I've done some webinars in the past about this. It could be literally a 3-hour training if you really wanted to get crazy. But long story short, tagging becomes very important. Obviously, step one is to connect with people, right? Then you can do things. But once you connect with somebody, then you have to actually put them into an organized folder to utilize LinkedIn's messaging tools. So what I've done is I've clicked Connections, and I'm at this gentleman's Connections. And you can see that he's done an okay job at tagging people. You can see here Bobby King. There's a little tag. It's like a dog tag. She's in the Friends folder. And Kelly, she's in the Friends folder. And Marcy, she's in the Friends folder. This guy Mike Johnson, he's not anywhere. And Kim Thomas, he's not anywhere. So my point is an expert LinkedIn user, they've gone through everyone they've connected with, and they've tagged them. So the first thing you want to do is go into this Connections area and just select your first person if they're not tagged. And when you select them, you're going to see some buttons up here that will appear: Tagged, Message, and More. So what you want to do is you want to click on the Tagged button. And when you click on the Tag button, what it'll let you do is either select classmates, colleagues, or friends, or you'll see Add New Tag. So I'm going to click the Add New Tag, and I'm going to create a Competitors folder, okay? So I'm going to hit Create Competitors, and I've saved it. Now I'm going to go down to this guy, Mike, who is a competitor, and I'm going to click on Tag, and I'm going to select Competitors. Now he's in the Competitors folder. So long story short, the reason you want to do that is because you can then come in, select All Contacts, select Tag, select Friends, and it's going to pull up all your friends. You can then select everybody and hit Message and say, hey everyone, we're having a big party next week, come by the house, whatever. My point is it's very much like email where you're grouping people into folders. The problem with not grouping people into folders is it could take you hours upon hours to select each person one by one to send them a message. And I've done some webinars in the past. I'm going to do some webinars in the future about the messaging tools on LinkedIn. They're very, very powerful. You can get a lot of results from it. The problem most of my clients have is they haven't gone in and they haven't organized their connections into folders, so they really can't use the messaging tools, which is crazy. So it starts with going through all your connections and putting them into different what are called tags. I call them folders. That lets you then easily go in, select the folder you want to send a message to, and send the message. I mean, think about it logically. If you had folders for business owners, you know, individual clients, college friends, competitors, you can then really design a message around that target market. It's going to increase your results. It's going to not anger anybody in the folder because obviously they're getting a message that makes sense for them, and you'll get more results. Absolutely. I know it because I do it all the time. You know, definitely a lot of results to be had. And that's kind of how you send a LinkedIn message. That was the final question. You go into this area, you click on connections. You know, you could send a message as simply as just selecting Bobby and then selecting the message and sending Bobby a message. Or, like I said, you have the ability to send mass messages to all these people. I just think it's crazy to sit there and hand select them and hit message when you can have them in a folder and literally click the folder and boom, it pulls up 100 people in 1 second. To me, social media is always about being efficient. You know, you don't want to get sucked in where you're wasting all this time, and then at the end of the day, you really have no idea what you're doing, if that makes sense. So I appreciate your time today. I'm recording this. I'm going to put it on YouTube. Maybe it's a good one to rewatch. Next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about the messaging tools. Obviously, they've made some changes over the last 2 months, which have really made them even better.